Hello, everybody. Today is March 31st. Welcome to The Source. Today's show is brought to us here by the ASC, the Awakening Sovereignty Collective. I have Dakota, Kaiser here, and Leela Starr. The topic of the day is going home, land-based intentional communities. Uh, the quote by Dakota is, "We have over 5,000 acres of land, literally hundreds of vacant spaces, seeking more beings ready to make the leap into intentional." Thank you so much. The website for the ASC, by the way, is www.asc.ai, and the source is www.thesource.network. So thank you, and now we'll go through a little round of introductions of who we have here on the call. So if you'd like to go first, Dakota.
Sure. I'm one of the center coordinators of the ASC, and something of a community mastermind, so to speak. I've served 74 land-based communities and hundreds of online intentional communities, and I know a lot about the subject. And I'm happy to be here and share what I know, and I hope that it will be useful, helpful to others who are interested in being empowered and being in a bigger group of cool people that do good things in a fun way. Yeah.
Leela.
What's up, Doran? Hi, Dakota. This is a fun topic for me. I actually am a contributing writer to Re-inhabiting the Village, which is a book that it's actually a guidebook to help people understand and be community in all kinds of settings, from like festival to urban to eco-villages. And I actually went to school in Sweden to study eco-villages and sustainable communities. And I have just been passionate about this topic forever because I feel it's where we're going. So this is something that since I was 21, I started living in communities. So this is a super fun topic. I'm excited to see what wants to come forth today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. My name is Doran Kutash. We have the Source Network, and we are a member of the ASC, the Awakening Sovereignty Collective. Super excited that we're bringing together all movements, all leaders in all movements for the completion of paradise on Earth. I'm excited to see media, all of us stepping into broadcasting and showing up in the world with our projects, and all of us working together. And that's what we're holding here with the Source. Live shows that are project management focused for humanitarian projects and the building blocks of building out the resource-based economic system for the completion of paradise on Earth in the next months to years. So this is a beautiful show, and the ASC is fulfilling an amazing set of pieces of the puzzle, the giant puzzle. So thank you guys, both of you, for being the leaders that you are within the ASC. And with that, Dakota, Kaiser.
Thank you, Doran. The first thing I wanted to talk about today is why community? What are the reasons that are bringing us together? And why might other people who are not in community want to be? The simplest and most easy and understandable reason is like that old metaphor of when you have one stick, it's easy to break, but a whole bunch of sticks aren't. We're living in this world where there are all these groups who do not have the best interests of the common, quote unquote, people at mind. There are many forms of slavery that exist on this planet Earth. Various forms of debt-based slavery, mental slavery, emotional and spiritual slavery. And when one is suffering from oppression and slavery, it is very difficult to get out of that alone. It usually takes 40 years of dedication, some luck, and some serious genius to actually get out of that state of being alone. With community, it's so much easier. That same process that can take one person 40 years And in that process I'm talking about is like actually owning a piece of land, being sustainable, having an income source, being able to do what you want without having to work for someone else. That's something most of us on this planet want and do not have. And community is the easiest way for us all to have that. I want to quote a couple examples of larger scale groups that have become really powerful in the world that are not nation states. Two of the most infamous, in kind of a bad way, but they're the most known, which is why I'm quoting them here, are the Vatican and Scientology. These are two groups independent of any nation state that have reached a very high level of sovereign recognition and power in the world. Beyond that, there are literally hundreds of smaller groups, including like the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. It's a real thing. And they're really acknowledged as a sovereign entity and they are not bothered. They are free from taxes. They're free from unjust persecution and laws, like laws regarding cannabis usage and laws regarding other forms of medicinal usage. But pulling it away from the why, because that's the major why, and going to a couple more examples. So intentional communities are all over the place. Some of the biggest movements of intentional community I've seen are built around activism of various forms. Anonymous, the Green Movement, the Christian movement. There's a lot that bring people together in a powerful way. Do you guys have any intentional communities that you'd like to mention here? Some of your favorites that exist that people can connect to right now? Doran or Lila?
I'm pretty new to intentional communities. I just moved out to California in the past 2 years. I got to stay at Full Circle Farm in Ojai for a week during our permaculture tour. And we visited a number of other land or spaces, community spaces or intentional communities on our journey up and down the West Coast. Full Circle Farm, I did notice, you know, like we're holding the highest vision for communities going forward, which they are thriving in the new earth, like these like cities of light are formulating. So to see the enterprise and the business aspect of like these communities really having a solid plan, collaborator agreements, seeing like, you know, co-ownership, co-stewardingship, collaborative governance, holacracy or whatnot, and having a master plan per se of what they're doing together and whatnot is what I'm seeking to see show up for all intentional communities on the planet. And I saw a number of them on our travels for that month or two while we were on the road, and they weren't very organized. A lot of them had a single owner that owned it for a long time and a single decision maker or top two or per se, top committee per se. And not everybody was happy and feeling involved, and some people were having things come up. The slavery energies were coming up within a lot of people at these communities, as well as myself. Just, you know, working on building a cob bench, but not being given a place to stay, and then not being given meals even, was something that was like brought up slavery energies within us as we were working on the project. You know, and individuals at the communities too, like, you know, like I was witness of individuals that live in such communities having that come up, and then they're just like, I'm not happy. I need to be free and do what I love to do. And I'm working all day, every day. So some of those examples came up, and I know that each community is working on shifting because Spirit has that vision for the communities going forward. And, that's just my little channel of flow right now.
Would you like to share, Leila?
Sure, yeah. Couple things Doran said were really resonant. One being, I mean, I literally studied why eco-villages fail and succeed, and I read hundreds of books and studied hundreds of communities. And a couple things he said are really important in terms of the shared ownership rather than the leadership being in the hands of one owner, being an absolute very important piece, as well as the ability for the community to have some sort of regenerative enterprise, whether that's like a learning and ecology center or different kinds of goods and services, is absolutely integral to the community for its success. Those were two of the most major points for all communities. And one community that's super fun that I feel all people should at least tune into is Damanhur in Italy. One of the reasons they're so fun is, I mean, they are a full-scale community, and you can have different levels of membership from living there to international membership in different places. You can still be a part of their community. But they've created their own money called the Credito, and it's worth twice as much as the euro. So the goods and services that are coming out of that community are so valuable that they're trickling out, and they're kind of regeneratively abundant all the time, buying more land, and all of the surrounding communities and regions take their money as more valuable. So just a few fun points just to keep in mind as we move forward, we integrate the business and the learning centers with the communities.
Thank you, Leila. Damanhur is also one of my favorite like high-end, large-scale crystalline examples. I wanted to draw a little emphasis on what the word intentional community really means to me. And to me, an intentional community is not necessarily a land-based community. The ASC is an intentional community. The Source Network is an intentional community. Each one of these shows on the Source Network is an intentional community. That word alone doesn't necessarily mean like an eco-village or a sustainable infrastructure thing. It just means people gathered for a purpose over a period of time. Yeah, I want to talk a little more about land-based intentional communities now, I guess. The decentralization of leadership is critical for a real community. If you don't have that, you don't actually have a community in my perspective. That other point is key, where the community must produce revenue, because if you live inside of a first world country, you have to pay for certain things. You have to pay for taxes, you have to pay for diesel, you have to pay for everything you can't sustainably produce yourself. That is so important, because if people show up and they want to give themselves to the community, but the community can't provide for them, it doesn't work out long term or even medium term. It's a very short term solution. I wanted to mention that at our tribeofawakeningsovereignty.com, or just Google Awakening Sovereignty, we've compiled a map of about 200 locations in almost half the countries in the world that are in spoken and written alignment with all of the community aspects we just mentioned. Many of them are struggling to get to these high principles that we've talked about here. But many more of them are already there, and Damanhur is one of them. To my knowledge, there are between 30 and 40 that are open, meaning new people that are not known by our networks can join them. So I want to talk about, I see that like sustainable land-based community is the evolution of intentional community. It's how you actually have an intentional community that can stay around ongoingly without having to split apart to gather resources. The evolution of sustainable land-based community are what are known as DAOs, D-A-O, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And a DAO is at its root a non-land-based intentional community with a purpose. It's a group of people coming together to create results over a long period of time. Now, DAOs can own land-based communities, can own properties, can own for-profit and non-profit shells, and the ASC is an example of that. We have about 20 different lots of land, 9 active eco-development projects, and a thriving digital community. between 100 and 200 active people that show up and do certain things at certain times to move forward our general purpose. And our general purpose is to unconditionally provide for the basic rights of humankind. Other DAOs will come about that have other purposes. Previously, there was one very large DAO built on Ethereum that crashed and burnt and failed. So as far as I'm aware, the ASC is the only other DAO that is beyond the theoretical state of being at this time. I very much believe, though, that DAOs will become a new way of society. I believe that they are more competitive from a corporate, like impact-based, results-based, efficiency perspective. A decentralized autonomous organization is thousands of times more efficient than a top-down pyramid slavery model. And when we have actually multiple decentralized autonomous organizations functioning on this planet Earth, we'll be able to create what is called a decentralized autonomous society, or a global and or nationwide culture that's built around consensus and choice. Because right now, we don't have many choices, especially in regards to our government and government-based services. You are forced to stick with the government that you're born under, with very little options of any other service unless you have a great deal of revenue. Most countries will take you in as a visa if you have over $1 million or if you marry someone. When there are more DAOs to pick from, anyone, anywhere in the world will be able to pick government-level alternatives to the services that normally their national government provides. And being able to pick will turn government-level services into a competitive industry. And so it'll become much more efficient, and people will get to pick. They'll be able to pick government A, government B, government C, or government D, and people will keep picking what's best for them. And when there are alternatives, it will either force governments to be better for us and actually have our best interests in mind, or they will become outdated and will fade away into dust as a majority of the population chooses systems that are better for them, and better for the planet, and better for the people on the planet. And that's where we're going. And how can we get there more quickly? Joining land-based intentional communities is a great place. If that's too big of a jump, I recommend joining some online intentional communities that are doing good things. If you're ready for a big jump, I would join a DAO, so you can join and look at a plethora of intentional communities and have a multitude of land-based communities to pick from. Or if you're, already pretty well set up in this reality, I encourage you to form a DAO of your own and link it with ours. As the ASC, we basically offer services to other DAOs. A variety of land-based and digital-based services. We call them our digital sovereign nation support services, and we have a lot to offer. But that is neither here nor there. I think that is all I had to share today. Leela, Doran? Anything to add?
I'll go ahead and just, for this movement of us moving towards heaven on earth, or a perspective of reality that perhaps already exists, and we're just basically peeling back the versions of this reality that no longer serve us. These DAOs and these intentional communities are absolutely what is going to help us move forward. There's no doubt or and ifs or buts. So it's really wise for us to continue to have these conversations and these inquiries about how we can participate and move our businesses or ourselves into organizations where there's shared vision and there is a dynamic group mind that is moving towards, I want to say, like a harmonic will, where there's an aspect of the human soul where each genius is bouncing off of the other genius towards a shared harmonic vision. And DAOs are really exciting for me. I mean, in terms of mass consciousness shifting, is because generationally, people come into the planet, like even in this past generation, saying this is how the world is. You pay taxes, this is the government, this is what exists. This is the real world, right? And then there's many of us who come onto the planet and say, yeah, you know what, that's not really my real world. I didn't really see that being the most productive solution. And we come in with a different set of ideas as to what reality could look like, or what it actually looks like in our hearts and minds. And so these DAOs help people come into a state of like autonomy and sovereignty and free will states, where we're actually saying, I'm going to question this system. I'm going to question this authority. This doesn't serve me, and I don't want to participate in it. And I have that right. That is my right. And I have these other organizations that I can support that will help me meet my needs or help society move forward. And so this is an exciting time, too, for all of these people that might be in like more basic levels of society, like I want to say more matrix, like upholding the current organization or the current sort of old paradigm, to say, hey, we have all of these skills already. We have all these organizational skills as corporations. We know how to work together in teams. We know how to make things happen and manifest. Now, how do we take those skill sets, those development and design skill sets, and apply them towards entrepreneurial or new realities that actually serve the populations at hand in a good way, and begin to, offer those organizations where people can say, I'm going to completely opt out of this governmental organization because this other organization is completely serving me better. So this is just a super amazing opportunity as well for all of the millennials and those people that feel inspired by innovative culture to step in and say, let's create DAOs and let's offer alternatives to the planet. Let's be the guardians that offer the solutions so people don't feel like they don't have a choice. And so we're enacting like quantum potential, free will, sovereignty. Like this is huge from like a base core level of how a human interacts in the world. So it's super exciting for me for heaven on earth, this foundational reality where we're not just waking up in the world and saying, this is what I have to choose from. This is what I don't have a choice in. I just have to do this and I don't feel good about it. We don't have to be like that anymore. I get a little passionate about this, but I think this foundational cultural thinking and understanding DAOs is absolutely going to help us shift this in a big way.
Awesome. I was just, well, for one thing, we talked about previously this concept of a reality show, using this airtime per se for like a reality show potentially that would be just about matching up leaders into the right community and the right projects to be fitted to the right community. So this process of like this live reality show of like, just we have all this land, figure out what the projects will be at each property per se, and then drawing in the leaders into those roles, or whichever order that would flow. I think that would be a really cool reality show to do.
I would love that, Doran.
So I guess we just have to have some discussions and figure out, because it's one thing to have a show and to just say, we have the land, who wants to move there, not have the direction quite yet for each property or what projects we're doing or the roles, who, so that can, like we can actually develop some structure to a show that is a big time show. It's like when we put that out there packaged right, with the right marketing, with the right video, with the right graphic design and the right website and all that, and a landing page, click funnel thing with Facebook ads, put a little bit of intentional planning of each of our skill sets together, and put it out there as an opportunity, a reality show that actually shows up in the world. We can funnel in a lot of amazing leaders from our networks, and they're joining, our organizations, and we can flow them through our trainings and through becoming like a a co-owner within our organizations, getting shares, and then, you know, like a whole process of showcasing how to get involved and what we're doing in the world. And this is the way to do it, is live, you know. Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. And these two, there's a couple individuals that, and there's a little Council of Light Facebook chat happening right now with Aaron Gabriel and a number of us are in there. And two individuals that just were introduced. There's their names are the one that's the founder of Montaya.com. She's doing a lot with communities. And her name is Kyla Atley Work on Facebook. And then James Rick Stinson, he's got a URL, tribematch.com. His intention is to match individuals with land communities. So they both share a mission within this general, you know, subject. So yeah, just to bring together more individuals and organizations that have land or are the types that would like to place leaders on land, and yeah.
Very cool. Something I'm really interested in beyond placing people online is direct project management as the ASC as an organization, and really seeing different projects like bloomed into life. Partially through this show, we can like formulate an idea, come together as a group, and then embody it. Yes, I'm exceptionally interested in that. I'd say one factor before we can actually really start embodying that is a working regenerative enterprise model. Last year as the ASC, we employed over 100 people and made between $100,000 and $150,000. This year, I stopped running those businesses. That revenue is not there, and there are no other major financial backers within this organization or any of our sub-organizations. So it's kind of hard to do a project when everyone's too broke to even get to the location or pay for their food while they're there or pay for materials to build stuff with. It's kind of like we have these really basic costs that are not paid for. And that's our first obstacle, is how do we pay for that stuff? It happened one of two ways. And I think kind of needs to happen both ways. But the first is partnering with groups with money. But the second is because we've already identified a bunch of groups with money who are in spoken and written alignment with us, but they want to see us like use what we have to get more of it. They don't want to just give their money away to charity. They want to like multiply their revenue. So we need regenerative enterprise models that are fully functioning, and then we can get investment capital for it. But that's step one, are those regenerative enterprise models. Actually, I have over a dozen of them that have worked well in the past. And so I guess like finding people that actually want to do what it takes to embody these models is the first step. And I'll tell you what, it's not easy to start a business. It's not like light and fluffy talking. And I see a lot of light and fluff in this movement, where it's like easy to talk, it's easy to make plans. And then when it comes down to like doing 40 hours of work a week for a few months, people are like, ah, shit, that reminds me way too much of the old paradigm. I don't really want to do that. So we're just kind of in this limbo and have been for over a year now. Any thoughts on that, Doran?
I'm all about like all the ways to monetize. You know, I'm done with that paradigm of asking, begging. You know, like a lot of people just put up a GoFundMe and they just let it go and nothing happens. And at least Patreon.com is like, here's the mission, what we're doing, here's our goals and the levels. You know, when we reach certain levels is what we're doing and accomplishing, and here's all the things you receive. So it's like, you know, hey, give $20, you receive a membership. You know, give $50, you get an hour of psychic services, like actual, you know, products, services, events, sponsorships. like I see us all like really, really thriving, and you know, we have so much to offer in terms of products, services, events, membership opportunities, sponsorships, and I'm really interested in monetizing everything, all of our projects, and another thing that just came to me, you know, I would like to introduce you guys to, if you haven't met him yet, Jonah Bolt. Have you guys met Jonah? You know Jonah? Jonah Bolt, he's focused in on hempandheal.com as his core focus right now. And he's got the systems, the infrastructure, and he's really got amazing products already. And he's open, and he's got the CRM systems that we can just go ahead and build our own business within the business real easy. And he's just in flow, and he's not one of the old paradigm business people that wants to, you know, make money off people. He's like just, and what I got from the conversation with him is that myself and Brittany, we can really focus in on ClickFunnels, Facebook ads, ClickFunnels, this formula that we've been really researching with Mike Dillard and Russell Brunson of like how to build a huge email list, make millions of dollars with Facebook ads, ClickFunnels, a private group, membership, front-end product, back-end product, and some of these pieces in one system. So this is a great opportunity to hemp and cannabinoids or whatnot heal everybody on the planet by just educating people and just sharing our link and bringing people in under us or whatever it is, and sharing our links and whatever, just letting it ripple through the world, as he's already talking to nations and already talking to doctors all around the world, and people are just, it's popping. So
I'm curious, does he have any like hourly positions that are available for?
Maybe.
I think that's what's needed the most. There's like quite a few sales opportunities in the new paradigm, but sales is its own niche that most people like cannot reach. And there's so many people that would love a job that benefited humanity, like to like make one's living and like be part of a community and make the world a better place is like what I think is like the starseed dream.
Well, I think just putting you guys on a call with him, because each of us has a different skill set, and that's probably what's most needed right now for someone like him that has something that's so primed, that's ready, is like leaders like us to show up and say, this is the piece I'll bring to this opportunity or operation. And each of us brings a different piece, and we show up, you know, in the world that way, and we can all cash in. Like it's just ready.
Cool. Let's talk. Yes, please. Thank you, Doran. Super cool. Well, thank you for your time today. I look forward to our next meeting tomorrow.
Thank you. Leela, anything?
Yeah, thanks, Doran and Dakota. And I just want to say I feel super grateful right now. I feel really re-inspired, and just by the two of you continually showing up as like stable forces of perseverance and diligence, it feels really safe, and it really excites me as we like come onto this next horizon and what we're bringing forth, because we're going into a whole new level of all of this, and I just look forward to participating more fully. And I'd love to continue to talk about the reality TV show, and open up the doorway with Jonah. He had a Starseed, I don't know if he still does, his Starseed radio, but years ago he had invited me onto it, and I never said yes. And I love this reweaving. This could be a really fun intersection again.
He's got a lot of projects that he birthed that are probably still there, whether they're operating or not. Like we can totally tap back in with him now that he's focused on that. You know, that we have all that, like all his organizations, we could probably like show up with more boom, 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 punch by bringing those together too. So yeah, he's a powerhouse. He's like us. So thank you all for tuning in.